Hi there. Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I sit down and we discuss a topic or a theme. Sometimes things are more a little sensitive than others that many of you don't want to talk about. Our road back to the covenant path and to finding our Savior Jesus Christ was not an easy one. We both got way out there. We have a lot of experience. We put a lot of study and a lot of our knowledge together when we're discussing these topics or these themes. We may go down many rabbit holes. So we have 5 episodes each week that we hope that you'll come back and join into before we bring things around full circle. So please hit the like button, subscribe, and let's get started.
In that respect, I always thought to myself, well, you can walk away from it if you change yourself, right? And don't look at yourself that way. You gotta look at yourself as something better or higher. We've done that from teaching leadership seminars and so forth.
Absolutely.
However, does Satan know our weakness?
Absolutely.
Will he always try to throw that back out there, especially in down times or when times when we would normally want to turn to that habit, right? And maybe things aren't going well in the new life, or we always get that plateau, right? When we start something new. And so I do think Satan does come back and say, hey, remember the good times about this, right? You kind of glaze over all how you feel the next day, right? And after the sin, but you remember how you felt working up to that sin, how exciting it was, or whatever the satisfaction was from that sin. So I think in that regard, like AA and so forth, where they say it haunts you forever, well, maybe it's not that haunts you forever. It's the fact that that lack of self-control that one has still. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, because there's certain things I'm working on too, right? That I do strive to overcome. And yet it seems sometimes I get better. And then all of a sudden I'll go 3 steps backwards. It's like, man, how did I get here? Why am I here? Why can't I seem to make that complete change?
Great question, and that is a great question. So here's the deal. You can get over it. You don't have to be an addict. You don't have to tell yourself that you're an addict. I think that's, the brain is a powerful thing. If we tell ourselves that we are, or we tell ourselves that we aren't, that's true, right? So if you tell yourself that you can or that you can't, both of those are true, right? So the power of the brain, you are if you are, you are if you say you are, you aren't if you say you aren't, and no amount, and I don't want to bag on AA or NA. I went to NA.
No, that wasn't my point either. I would just make
but even the church has the 12-step program. And if you look, overall in the world, most addiction recovery methods are 12-step based. And they all start with that fundamental idea. I like the churches because it does implement God in a very specific way and allows for the atonement of Jesus Christ to come in and remove that addiction. Which is very capable. It happened with me. I mean, later on, when I'm talking to the same bishop, he was now in the stake presidency, you know who he is, in Costa Rica. We're sitting there, and this is a couple of years, after my struggle, thinking that I could never, go back to church. The church didn't have adequate programming and all this other stuff. That's why I was looking through NA and all that other stuff. And he goes, can I ask that question again? How many, how's it been? And I'm like, great. And he goes, do you know how long it's been, since you last drank or since you last did any drugs? And I said, I had to think about that. I'm like, I don't know. I honestly don't know how many days they are. And he goes, well, when you finally get to that point where you have a testimony, and some people are going to be offended by this, but when you have a testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ, things like the word of wisdom end up dissipating. They go away. And I had this epiphany, sometimes we just don't have the ability to have words in our language that explain things enough. But in this moment, everything became clear as a crystal bell. And I'm like, I can't remember exactly how long it's been. And absolutely, I realized that I am I'm addict free, and I had the power in my heart and in my soul and the vision to be able to know that this was going to be able to go forward. Fast
Gotcha.
forward to years later when I was flying around on airplanes all the time and you know, I had this status and people would always come back. Nobody had to know that I could have taken a drink or not. And the flight attendant would go, "Hey, can I bring you something to drink?" Even if I was sitting in coach, I'd be like, "No," you know? And I thought to myself, nobody has to know. I could have this drink right now. You know, I'm thinking to myself, I wish they would, why don't they offer me something to eat? You know, I mean, that would be nice. You know, I was just, but the thought of having a drink was never, you know, a major temptation for me again. It's not that the thought didn't enter my head, but, you know, the thought of just staying clean, I guess, I don't really like that terminology either, was much more attractive. Because I have a life, you know, there's that whole idea, you know, like the hamster, you know, park or whatever. What's the name of that book that came out a long time ago? Where, you know, if you have a correct or a really nice living environment, then and family life that involves people connection, and the right kind of people, then we don't look for other things that will take away from that life, that beautiful life that we're living now. You know, things like
Okay.
addiction go by the wayside.
In that,
If that makes
and let me
sense.
interject here, but that sounds beautiful. And how many times many of us, you know, want to change because we love that family. We want the family, right? We don't want to lose our family. And then
Hmm.
we find that, okay, initially we get in there, we get going, and then we find we just kind of peter out, and that desire to change, we fall back into those habits again.
Because we
You
think
know,
we're not good enough. I mean, if our underlying belief is that we're not good enough, we're always going to go back to addiction. That's why it's so difficult to gravitate away from that. It's not because we don't love our family. It's not because we don't, you know, I mean, none of those things. It has to come back from the core principle idea that we are good enough. I am good enough. I don't need alcohol because I have a better life. I'm, you know,
You've just finished listening to Creative Conviction. Jeff and I, we put a lot of work into this, and our life's experience has been a lot of effort to try to get back to where we are now. We hope that you can learn something from us and share with us what your thoughts are down below. We'll see you in our next video.